Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Good morning, boys and girls. Today I'm going to be reading a story called The Memory String. All right, the story is written by Eve Bunting. The pictures are by Ted Rand. Let's begin. The Memory String. All right, we're going to begin our story. The story is called The Memory String. Laura sat underneath the oak tree in their small backyard. Whiskers, her black and white cat, lay beside her, twitching his tail. On the porch, her dad and her new stepmother, Jane, were painting the railings. Jane stopped and pushed her hair away from her face. She wore an old paint-stained shirt and skinny-leg jeans. "Want some lemonade?" she called. Laura shook her head. While Jane was still looking in her direction, she took the memory string from the red velvet box on her lap. The button strung on the string shone and silvered, patterned with oak leaf shadows. Jane dipped her brush into the paint and went back to work. Her shoulders were stiff. Laura had pulled out this string a lot in front of her stepmother. So here's Laura and her cat. There's her dad and stepmother painting. "This was my great-grandmother's memory string," Laura told Whiskers in a loud voice. "Then it was my grandmother's, then my mother's, and now it's mine." "Are you sure you don't want some lemonade?" her dad called. "No thanks," Laura said. "If you're not doing anything important, you might come and help us." Jane's voice was sharp. "I am doing something important," Laura said. "This button came off my great-grandmother's first grown-up dress," she told Whiskers. "Back then, some people couldn't read or keep diaries, so a string like this was their first way to remember. Mom told me." Whiskers yawned. "This button was my great-aunt's. She wore this dress to a quilting party. It's all part of our family's history." Whiskers got up to leave, but Laura took a firm grip under his stomach and crushed him up against her, leaving her arms free. "Yow!" Whiskers warned. "Be quiet," Laura whispered. "I can't talk about my memory string to myself, can I? You have to stay here." And here's the Whiskers. He's mad because he has to stay. These three buttons, these three buttons were from second cousins of my grandma's. The cousins were at a spelling bee. She peered up under her bangs. Dad was pouring lemonade. He took a frosted glass to Jane, and she sat back on her heels and smiled at him. Laura saw him touch Jane's neck under her hair. He did that often. Sometimes Dad and Jane sat on the porch at night after Laura had gone to bed. Her room was above, and she'd hear them whispering and laughing softly. They seemed so happy. It hurt to hear them happy like that. She rubbed the buttons between her fingers. "Get to the good part," she thought. "Forget the cousins. Get to Mom." "This button came from Mom's prom dress," she told Whisker. "Stop squirming," she added. "And this is from her wedding dress. It was white, of course. And see this little teeny one? This one is off my christening dress. And this one is off the dress I wore to my 5th birthday party. I remember." She stopped for breath and glanced up again at Jane. All this must hurt her a lot. For an instant, Lauren felt mean and horrible, but only for an instant. She didn't hate Jane. Not really. It was just that Jane had gone and married Dad. She had to rush now because Dad was coming down the front steps. This khaki one was off Dad's uniform when he went to war in a place called the Gulf. Mom cut it off his jacket when he came home, and she cried and cried because she was so happy he was safe. Dad stood in front of her, bare ankles, old torn tennies. "Laura?" Quickly, before he could stop her, Laura said, "This last one fastened the neck of my mom's nightgown, the one she was wearing the night she died. Dad saved it for me." She held up the memory string. The colors turned, the colors blurring through her, blur in her eyes. Whiskers leapt. "Watch it," Dad said anxiously. But he was too late. Whiskers' claws caught the string, scattering buttons like sunflower seeds. Laura covered her eyes. "Oh, no." Up on the porch, Jane dropped the paintbrush and rushed down the steps. "It's okay, sweetie," she said. "We'll find them." The three of them searched the grass. "I found one," Dad said. "Here's another," Jane called. Whiskers watched from the top of the porch. Bad Whiskers. One by one, Laura put the buttons carefully back into the box. There we go. "There were 43, she said. "I'm still missing 7. They found 6 more. Their knees were covered with dirt. Ants crawled over their hands and arms. They sifted through the leaves and dead blossoms, the ones that had blown off the camellia bushes by the porch. Do you know which one is missing?" "The one from Dad's uniform. It was Mom's favorite because..." Tears streamed down Laura's face, and Jane took a step toward her. "Oh, Laura, my dear." It was what Mom would have said, when Mom would have done. Jane's voice was soft, as Mom's would have been. But this wasn't Mom. Mom had died 3 years ago. This was Jane. "Dad?" Laura whispered, and her dad folded her against him. They searched again after supper until the light faded, while Whiskers lay on the porch, lazily swatting bugs. And there's Whiskers. When she finally went to bed, Laura couldn't sleep. "We'll find the button in the morning," Dad had promised. "And I'll help you restring them," Jane said. "Thanks, but I know how to do it," Laura told her. She lay listening to the crickets, listening to Whiskers purring beside her. A little later, she heard a murmur of porch voices, and she got out of bed and knelt by the window. Jane and Dad sat in the swing. She could hear its soft creak. Bugs batted against the yellow light bulb. "But there won't be any difference," Dad was saying. "My old uniform is in one of these boxes we stored in the attic. I can just cut a button off and drop it in the grass. She'll never know." "How can you think of such a thing?" Jane asked. "Those are true moments on that string. You can't cheat Laura like that." "But sweetheart," Laura imagined Dad taking off his baseball cap, rubbing his head the way he did when he was worried. "My little girl's heart is breaking. I only want to make her feel better." "Laura would rather that button missing than have a replacement," Jane said. And then she added, "It's like a mother. No substitute allowed." Laura heard the chokiness in Jane's voice. She felt choked up herself. The swing squeaked as one of them stood up. "Let's look some more. Right now," Jane said. "You can't see a thing." "Flashlights," Jane said. Laura bit her lip. Should she go too? But then they'd know she heard. She watched the white circles of the flashlights, the dark figures of Jane and Dad crawling through the grass. She could smell the fresh paint. The crickets had stopped singing to listen. And then she heard Jane's excited voice. "I found it! Over here! It must have rolled." She held something up between her finger and thumb. "Whoopee!" Dad swung Jane around and round, and Jane laughed. "Careful, we don't want to lose it again." "She'll be so happy. You can give it to her at breakfast, Jamie." "I don't think so," Jane said. "She won't like that I'm the one who found it. Let's just leave it on the porch, like it's a gift from a fairy." Laura got slowly back into bed. Whiskers had moved into her warm place, and she slid him over. "Grrr," he warned. She lay thinking. Jane's sad voice saying, "It's like a mother. No substitutes allowed." She remembered the soft look on Jane's face today, the way she had understood about the true moments on the string. So much to think about. So much. As soon as she wakened the next morning, Laura went downstairs. Jane was painting the back door robin's egg blue. "Like it?" she asked. Laura nodded. Already she could see the button on the porch. She picked it up and held it tight in her hand. "A good fairy must have brought it," she said. She noticed that the buttons on Jane's painting shirt were a deep, dark green. Pretty. Maybe one day she'd ask Jane for one to put on her memory string. She swallowed. "Will you really help me restring them, Jane?" Jane wiped her hands on a rag and stood up. "Anytime you want," she said. "I'm here." The end. All right, boys and girls, so that was the memory string. So I have enjoyed reading to you this morning. If you'd like to hear it again, just click on it again and you can enjoy it at any time. Thanks for joining. Hope you have a good break. Bye.